Did you contact LMP or anything?
And we do have like the study group coming up. So if like anybody wants to know, we'll be coming up. We have that table.
This upcoming event.
Yeah.
Coming up on April 13th through
June 8th.
June 8th. Study of what is imperialism. Learn about why we need a whole new system.
This is online?
This is online, yes.
It'll be over soon.
Right. Yeah, I think contact information is right there for your viewers.
Thank you, brother.
Did you want a pen? Or are you just...
Where's the trifold? Should I take these up there?
Yeah, there's some in there. Just check it out.
It's good to be out here in Lancaster. Oh, yeah.
Pushing it, but I think a lot of people are just like the same dumbass that take up shit.
Just want to be provocative.
But it was
Wow.
Sarah, I'm going to have you help with outreach too. I have a clipboard. So in there already, there's 5 sheets. Here's the pen. Yep. You want an extra pen or you do with
I will hold on to the
Yeah. I back.
I mean, I even not that I'm just
And there's trifolds here with the trifolds. This has the
I've heard it. I mean, you can't really
It's always
answer
exciting. It's always to what I've heard. And then I have lots of all the other products.
We officially affiliated. Yes, I signed an agreement.
Oh, nice.
So we're affiliated with.
And I'm gonna have Nick station at the table. So you can yeah, I was gonna how about that? You know, did you want me to do that? Yeah, I mean, come on, sign. Yeah, we have time. I was like, yeah. Good. How are you? Yeah, nice to see you in person. Yeah, and one of the first Lancaster actions was here, and it was against the prison. Oh, yeah. I think it was it wasn't the summer event, maybe like right after. Yeah, and it was like there was. I think it was over.
Oh, yeah.
We've got people on corners handing out flyers here at a courthouse in Lancaster, PA, for the Party for Socialism Liberation concerning the war on Ukraine.
Brad and Josh. I don't think anyone's going to be recording on this. I'm going to turn my hand down. Get you guys some buds. Hopefully one of those gets them. How long have you guys been active? 4 years? Yeah, a long time. I got here around, or I arrived in Carlisle around last summer, and there was basically no presence there, so I had to completely set up my own club. Yeah, I mean that's what I had to do. Like 4 years.
Check, check. Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Red. I'm a Lancaster member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'd like to briefly introduce the party. We are made up of leaders and activists, workers and students of all backgrounds. Organized in branches across the country in over 100 localities, the PSL brings together a new generation of revolutionaries alongside veterans of the people's movements with decades of experiences. The PSL is deeply involved in a wide range of struggles, from local battles over affordable housing and racist police brutality, to the fight for a higher minimum wage and union rights, to the global issues of environmental destruction and imperialist wars. Today, we're here together because of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. We have watched from afar as tensions rose between the two countries in the preceding weeks before the Russian military was finally called into the southern and the eastern parts of Ukraine, known as the Donbass region, and also the northern region where Kyiv, the capital city, is located. People across the world are concerned about the situation and the level of escalation which has already occurred. Each day, we're seeing countless unnecessary death and destruction, which could have been avoided. We are witnessing the call from many politicians and corporate-owned mass media to ramp up the U.S. war machine to get involved, instead of using their ability to end this conflict if they wished. We are here today to demand diplomacy and not more war. We recognize the dangers that a no-fly zone could have, because to enforce the no-fly zone would mean that U.S. NATO missiles being fired on Russian planes would mean firing U.S. and NATO missiles onto Russian planes. This would lead to other NATO members being compelled to respond, and we can all see where this leads. All-out war across Europe, if not the whole world. And let's be perfectly clear. There's no winner and no victory for anyone with a no-fly zone and nuclear war.
Yeah.
We didn't get to this situation in the past few weeks. Ever since the dissolution of the USSR in 1991, NATO, which is the North American Treaty Organization, has been expanding to include more countries, including former Soviet states such as Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and other former allies of Russia, inching closer to its borders. Despite NATO being a relic of the Cold War, justification has been made for its existence, and that has been used as a tool by the US to wage conflict and garner more global power. We can just see the destructive examples of Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, and Libya. It's clear that NATO is not a viable path for a future of peace and stability. It must be dismantled to prevent additional casualties. I'd like to bring up my first speaker, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You can go a little higher on the volume too, I think.
Check. Hi, I'm Jonathan DuPonte. I'm a member of the Lancaster branch for the Party for Socialism Liberation. For over a month now, Russia has been invading Ukraine, and the U.S. mainstream media has made Putin and Russia out to be the villains on the world stage. But what the U.S. media isn't telling us is that the United States and NATO are fully responsible for this conflict happening in the first place. Russia simply wants Ukraine to be a neutral territory and have threatened that they would invade Ukraine if they were to join NATO. The United States government has been increasingly aggressive towards Russia over the past few years, and Putin fears that if Ukraine joins NATO, the United States and NATO will place nuclear missiles on Ukraine's border. When the Ukrainian government demanded to be a part of NATO, and the U.S. government refused to negotiate over the demand that Ukraine be neutral, Russia invaded Ukraine. I'd like to emphasize that none of us advocate the Russian invasion of Ukraine. However, we can recognize the U.S. government and NATO are responsible for this. On March 3rd, the Ukrainian President Zelensky asked the U.S. to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine. This would allow U.S. warplanes and missiles to shoot down Russian military aircraft. Russia has made it crystal clear that if the U.S. and NATO enter the war, and it will increase the possibility of global nuclear war. It is imperative that we oppose the no-fly zone in Ukraine. We also need to call to abolish NATO. NATO was formed with the sole purpose of taking down the Soviet Union, and since the collapse of the USSR, it has done nothing but harm countries such as Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, and Libya. In 1945, the UN Charter was written and agreed upon. This charter was written to protect the sovereignty of nations by preventing stronger, more powerful nations from doing whatever they want, while less powerful nations are left with no rights. However, since 1945, it has become clear that the US and NATO have not abided by the UN Charter and are constantly invading or meddling in the affairs of sovereign nations. The UN Security Council, which is the only body of the UN that authorizes sanctions and military actions against other countries, is extremely undemocratic and is only run by 5 permanent members. We need to demand that the UN Security Council be abolished and demand that the UN Charter be upheld to stop this endless war. The US spends over $1 trillion of our tax dollars every year on military spending, while many of our basic needs are ignored. There are over 140 million people in the US living in poverty, and the vast majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. We need to demand that our government spend our tax dollars to provide all of us with housing, food, water, health care, and other basic human needs instead of endless war, and in this case, potentially World War III.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Next, I have from Pan, Brad, who will be speaking.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brad Wolf. I'm with Peace Action Network of Lancaster. Happy to be here today. Wish it was under better circumstances. We're here at one of the most dangerous moments in our lifetime. I was born shortly after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that was a time when Russia and the United States almost went to nuclear war over political spheres involving a third world country. It's Cuba. And today we kind of stand at the same threshold. We've got geopolitics causing what could potentially be World War III. Now, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is horrific. We see the images of that every day. That same thing is happening every day in Yemen, Somalia, Sudan. Our goal has to be to abolish war, abolish it everywhere as a means to resolving disputes. It never works. It only plants the seeds of the next war. Nonviolence, civilian-based defense, divestment for military campaigns, this is the process we need to follow. In the Ukraine, we've got to follow de-escalation, not militarization. Diplomacy, not more bombs, not more planes, and certainly not a no-fly zone. The weapons manufacturers are gleeful over what's happening right now. Raytheon just sent a memo out to their shareholders saying that they expect stock prices to soar because of the Ukraine invasion. Same's true of General Dynamics. Now these companies, Lockheed Martin with them, they're going to make big dollars over people dying. Our main export is weapons, and it has to stop. Some of the signs out there today say 2.9% of the U.S. military budget could end hunger in the world. That just gives you an idea of how much we're spending every year. People don't have health care. Our schools don't have sufficient funds. Infrastructure is falling apart, all because we're spending $1 trillion a year weaponizing the world. That has to end. Call your congressman, call Congressman Smucker, call Senators Toomey and Casey. Let them know how you feel. De-escalation and diplomacy in Ukraine. Let's cut this defense budget. President Biden just announced the new budget for next year is going to be more than this year. We can't tolerate that. We need reductions in the defense budget. Do everything you can to organize, talk to family, talk to friends, call, join rallies like this. Call for peace, not war. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad. And as Brad said, there was a new military budget, and it's going to be $773 billion, which is an increase of $30 billion from last year. And then there's going to be even more money likely approved by Congress, pushing it to $813 billion. All this money is just being spent on the U.S. war machine, maintaining the military bases across the world, invading other countries, and causing destruction wherever it goes. This statistic is really personal for me. I'm a parent, and I see how this affects my child and her classmates' education. So while the military budget is getting preferential treatment over any other federal budget item, right here in Lancaster and many other U.S. towns, our school districts are struggling to fully fund their schools and provide a proper education in a safe and comfortable space for the teachers, the students, and the staff. The school district of Lancaster is one of several schools in PA that is suing the state for unfair and inadequate funding. The government has tried to fight. The government has us trying to fight each other over crumbs, so that we can provide something that resembles a proper education. But if they can afford to cause global destruction, then we know better. That the U.S. war machine needs to be stopped. Its budget must be fully reallocated into social spending, where we have prosperous schools, school systems, regardless of wherever you live. And next up, I would like to have Chantel Toland of the Leon Block Independent Media.
Oh, sorry.
I have 3 words to say about the war on Ukraine. Black Lives Matter. The actions of Biden, the actions of the global north speak loud. Lives are being lost, and it is tragic, yes. But it is hard for me to care much when I know if I was there, I wouldn't be thought of much at all. Why are my people being held in detention camps while Biden welcomes white refugees with open arms? Why is he working so hard to keep Haitians and South Americans from fleeing to America while welcoming white refugees with open arms? Photo ops with white kids. Biden and Trump stand for the same damn thing, with a different face, different agendas, different motives, different tactics, but still the same shit. Hundreds of thousands of Eastern European illegal immigrants are living in the U.S. right now. Why aren't they being deported? Biden is granting temporary status to 75,000 Ukrainians. Meanwhile, since last year, Biden has detained and deported over 20,000 Haitians alone. You'll send blacks back to horrible conditions as they flee for their life, and I'm sure that they will die, but you let Europeans stay. Somalia, Cameroon, Palestine, Yemen, Haiti, Afghanistan, Honduras, Nicaragua, Nepal, Lebanon, Ethiopia, Myanmar, Guatemala, El Salvador, and more could all use our help. Yet, it's only when white folks speak that we are to hear them. The darker you are, the more cries fall on deaf ears. Racism is everywhere, especially in war. These bodies in Ukraine are just some bodies. If you're talking about the black lives across the diaspora day in and day out, be it colonialism and its evil tentacles, I don't want to hear about anything else. The cries of the privileged. We are told to look and show solidarity, give money, and cry with them. Black refugees need us, and we're told to care more about the celebrities fighting than getting our sister out of prison in Russia. The way we're being dumbed down and distracted is a testament to our decline. I, for one, will not fall for the bullshit. Ukraine can kiss my ass. Until y'all got to get my people out of those detention centers, until there is equality, equity, respect, and atonement, until the same respect and care is given to other countries in need, I won't give a shit about this war. I will stand with the black, brown, poor, and global South people. Those are the only truly ones in need, not Ukrainians. Those who are white and fleeing are being clothed, fed, and taken care of. Poor and global South countries are going without wheat and other things due to the war in Ukraine. It always affects poorer and browner countries. These establishments don't care. Plausible deniability. This war is all we're being told to care about. But as we make Saudis give us more oil, Yemen pays the price. Is this widely known? Does anyone care? We're too concerned with Hollywood. This war is bleeding us dry after we've already been run dry financially, mentally, and spiritually. The effects of this particular war have yet to be truly felt. But the one thing that's clear is the black and brown ones always seem to get left behind. So this war ain't my problem.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Hi.
Somehow I always get dragged.
Thank you for joining us, Chantel. Once again, I just wanted to mention how important it is for us to all be here together tonight, with each one of us showing up. It lets us know that we're not alone in how we feel what's going on in the world, that we're all seeking a peaceful resolution. It gives each one of us hope and furthers our optimism. We can see that we have others to rely on, and this is how we build strong relationships and community. And to build the new society we want to see, one that is not controlled by the ruling class who currently holds a vast majority of the wealth of the military. We need to remain steadfast in organizing ourselves as the working class. We outnumber them, and our united power, we can carry out a full socialist transformation, free of imperialism, capitalism, fascism, and the bigotry that is inherent in these systems. A quote that I found inspiring for confronting the challenges ahead of us is one by Arundhati Roy. She said, "Colorful demonstrations and weekend marches are vital, but alone are not powerful enough to stop wars. Wars will be stopped only when soldiers refuse to fight, when workers refuse to load weapons onto ships and aircraft, when people boycott the economic outposts of the empire that are strung across the globe." And one final speaker is Mateo. So come on up.
All right, yeah, hello, everybody. My name is Mateo Rodriguez. I'm a student at Westchester University. I'm going to be speaking here on Russia-Ukraine. So in the past few weeks, we've seen the escalation board develop in what seems to be the new standing hot conflict of the decade. We have sanctions, we have threats, and failed diplomacy. Despite the pleas of peace and diplomacy from people and nations all around the world, this war continues to grow into a brutal stalemate. There's endless death and zero ground is being ceded. So we come to ask the question, why? Why does this continue to happen? Well, let's talk about some things. There's some corporations here that are going to make some money. It'll be Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, you know the names. They're always making their rounds. They're always making money like war hawks, selling tools of death to anybody who's willing. So you can imagine they're more than happy to support small nations and militias with new state-of-the-art tools, and this includes Ukraine. But don't take it from me. The Raytheon CEO, Greg Hayes, just made an announcement January 25th at a quarterly announcement. He said, we just have to take a look to last week where we saw the drone attack in United Arab Emirates, which have attacked some of their other facilities. And of course, the tensions in Eastern Europe, the tensions in the South China Sea, all of those things are putting pressure on some of the defense spending over there. So I fully expect we're going to see some benefit from it. Even they themselves are excited to sell money to a small nation so that more people can die in favor of the rich. But it doesn't just end there. There's also corporations that are making money from this, especially media corporations. So it could be legacy media or new social media. We'll always see these attempts to make controversy and spin
all kinds of tales in favor of the continuation of war. So we see these moralistic portrayals consisting of making grand figures of men and lionizing these bureaucrats, making them out to be some kind of hero. We even have, like, paying Russians like Putin, like he's Voldemort, and we see Zelensky as though he was like Harry Potter. It's gross out here. We're seeing this kind of development that completely trivializes war and death and destruction. We also see that people are rooting on the side of war instead of peace. We see journalists, political commentators, and press corporations with zero national relation to Ukraine putting up all kinds of new slogans, all kinds of new profile pictures, and it's just a new hit thing until the next development comes up where they'll start standing with that thing. It's not genuine support out here. The real genuine, heartfelt, appropriate reaction will be to call for peace instead of destruction. We don't want war. Nobody wants war. So you have to look at where the trail really starts, and it's at NATO. It is at NATO. It's a geopolitical question about power and money. NATO stands to gain from having Ukraine turn into a puppet state on its behalf so it can keep pushing against Russia. Russia is standing up against that. And that's what the war is. It is an aggression of American powers doing what they do best. We saw this in the Cold War era. We saw this develop in the decades following that. I mean, most of Eastern Europe has seen this devastation from America being what they call liberated and liberalized. And we only see these nations crumble under the weight of that. And so we ask that question. We say, if America is so interested in Ukraine, then why is it watching it crumble like this? Why isn't it actually calling for peace and diplomacy? They don't care. They don't give a shit about Ukrainians. They don't care. It's all about money for them. If you really want to see peace, then call for the end of NATO. Call for the end of sanctions. No more escalation. We don't need that. We need the people to unite. So I want to end this on a good note. This conflict proves a lot of things wrong about how we saw the future of reality. The fall of the Soviet Union only brought more death and destruction, but the walls are closing in and it's becoming clear. This act of American aggression is desperate. Nobody's seeking to gain anything from this, and it has changed the tides forever. The only thing pushing forward that can help us is that the people unite together. If the people unite together, then we can see popular movements that appeal to actual democracy, actual equality, and international solidarity. The notions and ideals that we see now being just spat out about liberty are built off blood and labor of us, the workers, as well as the global workers in the South. So the only hope we have to see for peace, whether it be Ukraine or Yemen or Afghanistan, will be through the dissolution of NATO and the collapse of the Western supply chains that exploit the global South. Workers of the world unite. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Yeah. Thank you, Mateo. So as we bring this event to an end, I encourage everyone here to think about how we can work together to demand and win peace and diplomacy, an end to war, and the society we rightfully deserve. Talk with your friends and your neighbors and coworkers to educate each other about what's going on and the importance of taking action. Consider joining the Party for Socialism and Liberation. You can sign up to learn more about us and future events. Please feel free to talk to any of the members that are here. Thank you and have a great night.
All right.